The 2018 NHL Draft. Let's talk about it. If this is your first time watching, hi, I'm Steve Dangle. If you're like, wow, the sound sucks, well, it's always kind of sucked. It just sucks more now because the basement flooded and we had to do a bunch of repairs and there's nothing on the walls to prevent the echo. But that's all getting fixed very soon. Hey, you know how you can fix your NHL team? Drafting well! So let's talk about everything that happened at the draft this weekend. And actually, the draft picks weren't even the biggest news item this weekend because we have a trade to announce. The Calgary Flames acquire Elias Lindholm and Noah Hanifin, while the Carolina Hurricanes acquire Michael Ferland, prospect Adam Fox, and Dougie Hamilton. For a while, it felt like this weekend was going to lack any blockbusters. That is a blockbuster! And the reaction on hockey Twitter was pretty fun. Because whoever won and lost this trade, well, it depends on what you think of Noah Hanifin, Dougie Hamilton, or both. It's amazing. Lindholm is actually a very good forward and someone that the Flames could actually really use, but no one's talking about him in this equation. Noah Hanifin, left-handed defender, only 20 years old, top 5 pick. Dougie Hamilton, in his prime, analytical darling. And for some reason, always rumored to be getting traded. IMHO, I think the Hurricanes won that trade. I don't think it's the landslide that I've seen people call it, but it's still pretty good for them. Actually, I've seen people call it a landslide for the Flames too. Look, the Hurricanes need goal scoring, and they got a few really young, really offensively talented players who I think are going to blossom. Lindholm being one of them, and they got rid of him. And they're rumored to be getting rid of Jeff Skinner too, and it sounds like they actually came pretty close. The Flames could absolutely use a guy like Lindholm. To me, that part was smart. But Dougie Hamilton is better than Noah Hanifin. To me, he's better to me. Now, because Hanifin's so young, he might be better one day, but most people whose opinions I trust don't think so. Now, he's not bad. He's never been bad. He's never going to be bad. But to me, Carolina got the best player in this deal, and by the sounds of it, Adam Fox is a hell of a prospect too. And let's not forget Michael Ferland and all this, add some snarl, and the guy scored 21 goals last season. Now the Hurricanes have all these right-handed D, apparently they might trade Justin Falk. They could still use a little bit more offense, which is weird because they're apparently going to trade Jeff Skinner. Well, everyone's going to be focusing on John Tavares and all the Canadian teams and everything like that. Carolina is a team that everyone should be watching. I think they're about to go bananas. Speaking of bananas, Ilya Kovalchuk is back. 3 years, $6.25 million per with the LA Kings. He signed an identical contract to the one Patrick Marleau signed with the Leafs last summer. Marleau was 37 when he signed it. Kovalchuk is now 35. Really? Kovalchuk's 35? Buddy, when the Atlanta Thrashers drafted Ilya Kovalchuk first overall, it was 2001, when a lot of this year's draft class was only about 1 year old. Now, even though Kovalchuk hasn't been in the NHL for a while, he's been a monster in the KHL. His past 2 seasons, he's been well above a point per game, which is hard to do over there. But one thing's for sure, the Kings are thoroughly in win-now mode. You might have looked at their team with a lot of money locked up and a lot of older players going forward and thought, I wonder if they're going to tear it down and rebuild. Nope, buddy, they still got Drew Doughty to re-sign. There's rumors that they're still in on John Tavares. It's nuts. But one thing I will say is thank you to Ilya Kovalchuk, because a few summers ago there was this whole will he sign, won't he sign thing, and then he did sign, but it was illegal and we don't know what's going to happen. And it lasted all damn summer. Oh, I hope he just signs July 1st. Nope, finito, dunzo, over. So thanks for not dragging that out. Speaking of dragging it out, hey, how about we talk about some draft picks? The Buffalo Sabres select Rasmus Dahlin first overall. Big shock. Now the Buffalo Sabres are living proof that rebuilds do not always work overnight, but it looks like they got a franchise center in Jack Eichel. They're certainly paying him to be that. And now they got a franchise defender in Rasmus Dahlin. There's definitely more work to be done, but that's how you build a winner. At number 2 overall, Carolina gets Andrei Svechnikov. Again, big shock. Why did they feel so confident trading away Elias Lindholm? Well, in 44 OHL games this past season, Svechnikov scored 40 goals, which is just, mean. I'm gonna say mean. Now, number 3 overall. Habs fans getting their popcorn, they're ready to sit in their seats, they got their foam finger. The Montreal Canadiens, le Canadien Montréal, sélectionné, proudly, fièrement, with the 3rd overall pick. J'ai utilisé Google. Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Dude, their reaction shot of the Canadiens fans is hilarious. Me thinks someone was banking on Phillips Zadina. Instead, with their 3rd overall pick, the Canadiens get a center from the Finnish league. A lot of Habs fans hated it, and a lot of scouts were like, you shouldn't. And these are the kind of extremes you get with sports talk. Like with the Flames-Hurricanes debate, it seemed to be Hanifin is bad or Hamilton is bad. Okay, how about neither of them are bad? You can think one is better than the other without thinking the other is bad. And Zadina can be better than Kotkaniemi without Kotkaniemi being bad. Like, come on, can he play? Can he at least hit the ice before you judge it? Can you watch one of his games before you make this decision? And some of you are gonna go, I did see one of his games. Wow, one game, what authority. Now here's where you can criticize this trade. The Canadiens need a center, and they need one right now. And everything I've heard is that Kotkaniemi will be that, but he is not that at the moment. Don't rush and ruin this kid. At number 4, with the pick that they kept, by the way, the Ottawa Senators select Phillips. What the Brady Tkachuk, Matthew's bigger little brother. And again, I saw a lot of Sens fans that hated this pick because his name was anything other than Phillips. One thing I will say about this, and it has nothing to do with analysis of his play, like all the draft interviews are painful. Hi, my name's Cormac McLagan. I play for Gryffindor of the USHL, and I took 2 Tylenol PM before this interview. My favorite thing to do in my spare time is play Fortnite. And for some reason, people still eat it up like, he played Fortnite! Oh, kids do that! Kids do that! And as a hockey fan, I'm just like, this is why no one likes us. But Brady Tkachuk seemed to have none of that. Just beaming with confidence and swagger, exactly the sort of thing that the Ottawa Senators could use. He hasn't even played a game in Ottawa yet, and he's already the happiest member of that organization, probably for that reason. The one thing I will say though, Ottawa fans buckle up. As a Leafs fan, I remember what it was like to have that first round pick hanging over the Leafs all season in 2010, and lo and behold, it was the 2nd overall pick. Remember all the anxiety this past season of will they, won't they? Yeah, okay, we'll double that because they don't have next year's pick. I will give the Sens credit for one thing that I think was really smart. They already had the 4th overall pick and the 22nd from Pittsburgh, but no 2nd and 3rd round pick. So they make a trade with the Rangers to move down just 4 spots to 26, and in return they also get the 48th pick. So there's your 2nd. With the 5th overall pick, the Arizona Coyotes select Phillips. Okay, this one doesn't even make sense. They picked Barrett Hayton, who had a very good regular season for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, had a very good playoff as well, but 5th is way higher than a lot of people had him going, especially with Phillips going on the board. Why does no one like him? And with the 6th overall pick, finally, Detroit gets Phillips. He's in the Atlantic Division, which I'm not stoked about. I heard at least one person say he's got Kucherov potential, so that's fun, but he's actually got a bit of a vendetta against Montreal and Ottawa. And he said he wants to make them pay for passing on him, and he's gonna fill their net with pucks. 44 goals in 57 games in the queue this past season, they're gonna run out of pucks. With the 7th overall pick, the Vancouver Canucks select defender Quentin Hughes. He was the highest scoring defender that the University of Michigan had last season. At number 10, the Edmonton Oilers bored everybody by not trading it for Nikita Zaitsev 1-for-1. What? They got big right-handed defender Evan Bouchard, who should be ID'd. That's not a teenager, that's a grown-ass man. That's a dad. Gonna walk into the Oilers dressing room with faded jeans, high sneakers, and fix a sink. Or maybe skip the sink and fix the toilet. By the way, I know I just showed you that tweet, but I gotta get this off my chest. Twitter's been around for a long time now. Evan Bouchard was 14 when he sent that tweet. And tweeting about taking a dump is funny and innocent, but I just can't help but feel like at some point someone's gonna be like, oh my god, can you believe this prospect said that? And I'm gonna be like, yeah, they were 11. Moving on, the Islanders had back-to-back picks at 11 and 12, and they killed it. Oliver Wahlstrom and Noah Dobson for Lou Lamoriello's first draft as GM of the Isles. A highly coveted forward, a highly coveted defender. That is a lean draft. 2 guys that are likely to work out back-to-back in the same first round. Everything else in the draft, if they work out, it's gravy. Ryan Merkley falls all the way to 21 to the Sharks, but not as far as people thought he would fall. People were talking about him, even on my podcast, as having top 10 potential in terms of talent, but personality issues. Let me say this, drafting is drafting. The guy that you're bringing into your organization was previously outside of it. But if you bring a guy into your organization and 4 years later he's the exact same person, it's a little bit your fault. So the Sharks, in betting on Ryan Merkley, are also betting on themselves. Like, hey, we really like you, we think you're a good hockey player, but we heard you're a bit of a dink, and just know that if that continues, Brent Burns will eat you. He'll do it. I've seen him do it. With the 25th overall pick, the Leafs select nobody. They trade it to the Blues. In return, they get the 29th pick and the 76th. And at 29, Joe Veleno is still available. And because of that, a lot of people were disappointed with the Leafs instead selected Mats Sundin. What? Oh, Rasmus Sandin. That's going to be confusing. Don't wear 13. Well, that's right. He can't. They finally did that. It's funny because there was some criticism, I think some of it coming from me, that Mark Hunter picked too many London Knights when he was with the Leafs. And in his first full draft, here's Kyle Dubas selecting 2 guys from his former team, the Sioux Greyhounds. Now, if you're disappointed, I loved this take from Acting a Foolman on Pension Plan Puppets. Go to pensionplanpuppets.com if you want to read the whole thing. Obviously, for a player to fall like Veleno did, a lot of teams have to not pick him, and so it was. By the time the Leafs pick came, Veleno seemed to be pretty clearly the highest ranked player left on the board. Ryan Merkley, a popular boom-bust pick, was gone at 21 to San Jose. Kyle Dubas declined to take him. There's no way the Leafs weren't entirely aware of Veleno, and they clearly made a conscious decision not to choose him. Why? We can't know yet, but it's a choice that they made eyes open. Let's hope they're validated. So you can think that Dubas was just like, no, I'm gonna get the Suga, letting Velino fall to the very next pick, the Detroit Red Wings, a divisional rival, which would be super irresponsible if that's what he did. But what it seems to me is they really believe in Sandin. Sandin? Are we sure? Rasmus. We'll call him Rasmus. The best Rasmus! A small-ish left-handed D who they describe as smart. I know a lot of the people watching this are Leafs fans, so let's go through the rest of their picks. Sean Dursey, a right-handed D out of Owen Sound, who tweeted this: "A year ago today, I sat through 7 rounds of the NHL draft waiting for my name to be called and left hanging. Today, I'm officially a part of the Maple Leafs, and I'm not crying, you're crying. It's the most beautiful thing." Lifelong Leaf fan gets his chance to be a Leaf. Come on. And up next, we have Semyon Durarguchintsev. I heard some people say Durguchintsev. Plays for the Peterborough Peter. I'm gonna call him Peter. Now everyone's saying Peter, that's disrespectful, I'm sorry. SDA. Now it's funny, I saw a lot of people talking about how they didn't love that pick. Kind of a boom-bust pick, but isn't that what you should be doing in the 3rd round? Like, I remember Brad Marchand was kind of a boom-bust pick, and PK Subban was a boom-bust pick. There's probably plenty more busts than there are booms, but the Leafs are taking their shot. He's really little, but he's a center, which the Leafs need within the organization, and he's the youngest player in this draft. So if he seems lighter and less developed than most of his peers, yeah. He's 5'10", that could change, and 159 pounds, that will change. Meanwhile, even though they're from 3 different countries, with their first 3 picks, the Leafs select OHL players. But that changes with their next pick when the Leafs select out of the WHL, the Calgary Hitman, Riley Stotts, nearly a point-a-game center. He's 6 feet tall, which by the Leafs standards means he's a giant. In the 4th round, the Leafs get Mac Hollowell, another overager, who they actually had at camp. He had his camp ended early when he was battling in front of the net, and he blocked a shot that broke his leg, which probably hurt a lot, but it's exactly the sort of thing that gets Mike Babcock to add you on Facebook. In the 5th round, surprise, another defender out of the WHL, the Leafs get Philip Kral. He's Czech, and more importantly, at 6'1", he is a beanstalk. 35 points in 54 games. A lot of people weren't in love with a lot of the Leafs depth picks, but this was one that I saw a lot of people really impressed with in the analytics community. Winner of coolest name out of all the Leafs draft picks is Pontus Holmberg. Please be good, I'm getting so many title ideas. The Leafs drafted a goalie, Zachary Boutillier, out of Chicoutimi. What other goalies have the Leafs drafted out of Chicoutimi? That's right, Felix Potvin. He is my new favorite player. I'm serious, I'm getting his jersey. And with their last pick, the Leafs get Semyon Kazimov out of Tolyatti, Russia. A winger. Let's turn that G into another N and make him a winner. My judgment on the Leafs draft, and anyone's draft really, is as good as yours. I will say this about Dubas. I think I'm gonna start taking everything said about him, good and bad, with a grain of salt. Some guys are just gonna hate him no matter what. We already knew that. Some guys are gonna love him no matter what, and that's nauseating too. And with this draft, I think we saw some people who love him, like really love him, and they were left disappointed. Because he's got this ridiculous wunderkind god status reputation that he couldn't possibly uphold. Like every single pick he's gonna make is gonna be off the board crazy brilliance! And it still might be that. It's just not the brilliance you thought it would be. It's not what you agree with. It's not your brilliance. Some of these guys are gonna work out. Some of them are gonna stink. That goes for the Leafs and 30 other teams that made picks. One last thing though I will say about Rasmus Sandin, he can play in the OHL, AHL, or in the NHL next season. Probably not gonna play in the NHL, but the flexibility of being able to send him to the OHL or AHL is a plus. Hell, he can go back to Sweden if he wants. A few more things to wrap this up. There's always a, oh, they got that guy pick. Joe Velino going to Detroit wasn't quite that. I used to think that with Detroit, like when they got Thomas Yurcho, or a couple years ago they got Andreas Athanasiou. I'm like, oh, of course they did. And then Detroit fell off the face of the earth and I was less afraid of them. But like when the Chicago Blackhawks, after everything was going so right for them, I'm talking about before the season, they got Alex DeBrincat. I'm like, really? This year's version of that? Kalen Addison falling to the Pittsburgh Penguins in the 2nd round. A lot of people really love this kid from the Lethbridge Hurricanes, and of course, he's joining the Pittsburgh Penguins. Come on. In the 7th round, the Arizona Coyotes select from the Sheffield Steelers, Liam Kirk, the first ever UK-born and UK-trained player in NHL draft history. That's why I got my Aberdeen Lynx jersey right here. I know it's not the same thing, but it's, you know, whatever. UK fans rejoice. That's amazing. And also in the 7th round from the Kamloops Blazers, the Dallas Stars get Jermaine Lowen, the first ever Jamaican-born player in NHL draft history. It's great news. I love that for so long Canada has dominated hockey. I love cheering for Team Canada. But man, this sport needs to spread out. It needs to go more global than it already is. These 2 picks, they're just a little thing, but it's a start. Sure, Lowen played in Kamloops, but for Liam Kirk, for a player growing up in the UK right now, a hockey fan, you can put a stick in your hands, you can play hockey in the UK, UK, you can train in the UK, and you can play for a team in the UK and get drafted into the NHL. Hell, look what Nathan Walker just did with Washington. And you might go, he barely played. Yeah, but he played. Last thing, Max Pacioretty was traded, and then he wasn't. Switched agents, boring. John Tavares is putting together a list of 5 teams that he's going to talk to, boring. But with the Hurricanes and Tavares and so many other things going on, I have a feeling silly season's just beginning. So in preparation for those silly things, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you liked this video, click subscribe if you really liked it, tell all your friends, and leave a comment down below. What did you think of the weekend that was the 2018 NHL Draft?